We're on Menachos on Beis. You hit it?
Yeah.
All right. Today's daf Mem Beis. We'll start from Menachos on Beis. We'll just review what we learned yesterday real quickly because we did it yesterday real quickly. Omer Avuna, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 lines from the bottom approximately. Omer Avuna. Machloikis here. Ravuna says, Arba, you need 4 strings, Besoich Arba, that are within 4 fingers of the end of the beged, Umishuleshes, and the anaf, the psil, the strings, not the braided part, but the separate strings are mishulish, they're hanging down, arba. They are 4 fingers from the end of the braid. So if this is the braid, they hang down 4 fingers. So I have 4, 4, and 4. What's the 4, 4, and 4? It is 4 strings, and they're within 4 finger breadths of the end of the beged. Over here, this is the beged, and they hang down 4. That's shir number 1. Shir number 2 is very easy to remember. The machlokes, Rav Yehuda Amar Shloisha B'Sech Shalosh Mishuleshes Shalosh, 3, 3, and 3. So 3 strings, which are 3 fingers away from the end of the beged, and they hang down past the braided part, past your last knot. They hang 3 fingers. Now, Rav Papa comes along and he takes a little bit from both. Omar Rav Papa, Hilchasa. This is the halacha. Arba, you need 4 strings. That's what we do today. We put 4 strings in, we double it over, so we have 8. B'Soich Shalosh, within 3 finger breadths of the end of the garment. That's what we do today. Mishuleshes Arba, and they should be hanging 4. So it's 4 strings. That's why we have 8. It is 3 fingers away from the end of the beged, and they hang down 4. What?
The knotty part has to be at least 3 fingers long. Is that 3 away from the beged?
No, the hole of the beged, this hole is it starts. You don't put it at the edge of the garment. It has to be. We're going to see a little bit more in a second. Today's daf, but now we're learning a shear of 3 fingers away from the edge. We're going to see that's the maximum, and then there's a minimum, and it has to be in between the maximum and the minimum. The minimum is. Let's go weiter. We'll see. Lemeimro dis lushiura. So you're telling me that tzitzis have a shear? Uriminu tzitzis. The word tzitzis means ein tzitzis elo yoytze. They just peek out a little bit. Vein tzitzis elo mashu. And tzitzis doesn't have a shear. It just has to be a little bit, like we learned, garmidim, the little leftovers. Both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel went up there to the attic, and they decided tzitzis ein lo shear. There's no measurement for the tzitzis. So why are you telling me that the halacha is it has to be 3 fingers past the knot?
Is it saying that the root of the word tzitzis is from the same?
Yeah, the Malbim says that. The Malbim says that the root of the word tzitzis is hatzatza, to be meitzitz, to peak. V'amru tzitzis ein lo shear. They said that what? That tzitzis doesn't have a shear. Kayotze boy lulav ein boy shear. A lulav doesn't have a shear. Is that true? We're all looking for lulavim these days. Does a lulav have a shear? Yes, a lulav has a shear. So why does the Gemara say it doesn't have a shear? That's what the Gemara is going to say in a second. My lav ein lo shear klal. Seems like there's no shear at all. So the 3 fingers is not the shear. Loi. We're holding that from Beis Omid Aleph, the first word. Ein lo shear lemalo, ava yesh lo shear lemata. When Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel got together and they said there's no shear, what they were talking about is the max. You could have a lulav, as I don't know if you've ever seen, but I was at the Koto once and I saw a lulav that was literally 20, 30 feet long. The craziest lulav I've ever seen in my life. You seen those? Yeah. Does not fit in a building. Because it has no shear lemala. But it has a shear lamata. In other words, there is a minimum. hachi kayetz by lulav ainly shear achanami ainly shear klal v'tnan lulav sheyesh by shloisha tvachim. A lulav has to be at least 3 tvachim the size of the arava. Arava and adas is 3 tvachim, so lulav has to be at least that plus a tefach. Kedei l'nanei boy, it needs another tefach in order to shake it, kosher. So obviously a lulav needs a shear. There's no max, but there's a minimum. So by tzitzis also there is a minimum, and what's the minimum? It is 3 fingers, we said.
That would sound like, remember, the whole is a minimum of 3 fingers away.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna here's the sugya. Karabanon tzitzis ain't tzitzis elo onof. That's the guy that brought me my esrog at 2 in the morning. It's all his fault.
Was it the shear?
I didn't have a shear. Ain't shear lamalo. It was like this big, without anything on it. It was a beautiful esrog. It was worth waiting up till 2 in the morning. I don't know, like 2.5 hours later, I was like, what? But yeah, Seder. Tzitzis ain't tzitzis elo onof. Tzitzis means the strings that are separated. Yechezkel says, and he grabbed me by my hair with his hand, and he took me. Rabbi explains, you have to separate tzitzis, and the Vilna Gaon says this is mamish ma'akiv the bracha. You can't make a bracha on tzitzis if it's not separated, like the hair of a goy. These are Arameim. They would braid their hair on top. They would braid their hair, and then it would go up straight. It would have it would be separated, a mohawk. But the bottom part, the part closer to the head, was braided. So it's similar to how it sits. It's braided. Then you have strings. The famous Mishabura, it's not the Mishabura brings, I forgot who it was, like the Zoyar or Darizal maybe. So like tzitzis, he says the Rosh Tevis is Tzadik Yafrit Tzitz Yosef Tamid, or Yavchin Tzitz Yosef Tamid. There's an Indian to Kaza, that's why you always see the people, separating the tzitzis. The guy says you're not allowed to make a bracha on, you're not allowed to see a bracha if the tzitzis are bunched together. Torah Rabbanon, Hitil ala keren, oy ala gdil, sheira. If you put your tzitzis on the corner of the garment, or on the edge, sheira. Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov, poisel b'shteihen. Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov says it's no good. Kiman az l'hadam Rav Gidel Amarav. Who's this going according to that? He says tzitzis tzricha sheteinu tefes ala keren. Tzitzis has to be over the edge. In other words, it has to be touching the whole corner. If you put your tzitzis in the corner, then it's not touching the corner. It's in the corner. Yeah, there's a distinction. No, if you put it literally in the corner, nobody does it in the corner. Oh, you're saying this is a right to the Hasidic way that it's actually, I also thought about it while I was learning it. But they say no. This is also good. This is touching the whole corner. This part right over here is touching my beged. That's all I need. I need to be touching my beged.
That's why it shouldn't be too loose.
If my tzitzis comes right out of the beged, right on the corner, then it's not touching my beged. It needs to caress my beged a little bit. So that's why it's hugging my beged right over here. How much? 3 fingers worth, whatever the amount is. But if it was in the corner itself, mamish in the corner, like mamish, then it's not touching my beged. It's in the beged, it's in the corner, not on the corner. It has to be on the corner. It has to be laying on the kanaf. So Mela has to be away from the kanaf. It has to be away from the corner in order to lay on it. So who does this go according to? Kiman Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov, who says it has to be away from the corner, and not who was it? Rav Gidel, who says, or Rav that says it could be on the corner of mamash. Omer Reb Yaakov, Omer Reb Yochanan, v'tzorich sheyarchik meloi kesher gudol. Comes along Reb Yochanan, Reb Yaakov in the name of Reb Yochanan, and he says that there is a minimum. The minimum is your thumb, from the point, from the top of your thumb to the first knuckle, which is less than 3 fingers. Slightly less, exactly. So you have a very small window here, basically. This is what we're going to see. In other words, I need both. The imid Rav Papa have amina toich shalosh. There's a max. The loy lerachik tvei. Become the mikor of Miley. Maybe Rav Papa is saying, I have 3 fingers, but it was hard for me to kind of. Where is it? Oh. Why not? For the heck. Here's 3 fingers. I have 3 fingers, but it's just. But they don't have a hole in them. And it was hard. These are my fingers. 5 in the morning. This is what you do at 5 in the morning. All right. What? No. This is photocopied. You know how you put your face in the copy machine? I put my fingers in there.
Keep us around.
Yeah. If anybody wants to see, this is live. This is not the regular shear. It says that your shear should be like a regular human being, average human. The common Mikori of Miley, I would think that there's a max of 3 fingers. This is the top of your beggar, right? This is the end. So I would think you could go up to here. Now, the closer you get over here, the better. Maybe I could poke a hole right in here. No, that's not good. Then it comes along and says you have to take your agudol, and it has to be minimum where this hole is right over here. He gave a shear of 3 fingers. Okay, shkoyach. But what if, that's the max. What if I went lower than that? The lower the better. The closer to the end of the beggar, the better. So then he comes along and there's another shear. There's another shear of your agudol, which is from the top of your finger to the knuckle, and you put that on your 3 fingers. From the end, this is the end of the beggar. Right over here is the end of the beggar. I put this on, and look where my window is. My window this is the max. This is the minimum. It's right in there. So when you go to the store and you buy your tzitzis, you'll see that their hole is exactly this shear. It has to be a very narrow shear. You can't go too far away. You can't do 4 fingers away from the edge of the beggar, and you can't do less than your thumb away from the beggar.
So that's the issue when it starts ripping.
What?
We didn't want the length or the width.
Both. You're in the corner, so from both edges. That's why you'll see it's perfect from both edges. Now, the reason why they do this, I guess in halach it says it comes over a little bit. I thought I learned not like that, but they do it on purpose. They bend it. It shouldn't. This is no good. Should I tell them to undo it? Okay.
How the Hasidim get 2 holes in that hole?
Because that makes a lot more sense. The way the Hasidim learn that it's literally laying. They're kanaf. Us, we just have strings and then we start the kesher afterwards. They're already starting their kesher by the hole, so their string is laying al kanfei bigdein. I finally understood what they're talking about. Why not?
So the kanaf, it's in the middle. It's in the middle of the
That's the kanaf. That little
Why is
kanaf.
that the kanaf?
That's the kanaf.
That's the middle.
Why would that? That's how we were learning.
Just like you have to have, we're saying you have to lay on the beggar. You have to have 2.5 centimeters laying on the beggar. They don't have that 2.5 centimeters because between the 2 holes, they've only got a millimeter.
Right, but that's what tzitzis itself lays on the beggar. It comes down the shirt. It comes down the beggar. It's touching the 2 millimeters, and then what happens? It doesn't hang this way in the air. It goes downwards on their beggar. It's going to touch their beggar, slam up against their beggar.
But ours touches the corner. It hangs on the side and then it goes down.
And theirs also touches the corner, even better. Their gedil touches the corner. Their kesher touches the corner. Why not? Look at it.
I was in Williamsburg and the chassid were wrong.
He didn't know that there's another shita. He's never seen it.
Shabura, maybe?
He's never seen it. Okay.
Whose sheet is this?
Could I put away my?
Whose sheet is it 2 holes? Where's it come?
I don't know.
Lubavitch has the whole diagonal.
You're saying the Karaim have 2 holes?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
By the way,
Maybe that's why we don't have it. The Lohitzi.
Gruneg, I'm not sure if you're allowed to say Hasidim
I didn't say that right. No.
You said it makes more sense.
Oh, that part that I said. No, I finally understood why they say it. I was like Rabbi Naftali when he heard it. The first thing he said, "Oh, the Hasidim," because it's literally laying. Unlike you. Where's my string?
You said you brought something back because of the cord, the string.
Hold on. If your hole is over here, where's this? This is us, right? You have a hole, and then you put it through. So this part is on the beged, but your actual gdil starts right over here and downwards.
Yeah.
It goes like this. So this is not on the beged. The chassid, he puts his gdil over here. His gdil starts over here, so his gdil is already touching the beged. That's what I'm saying. Look, his gdil is on the beged.
But that's why you're supposed
It's
to turn
touching.
to the side, Eli. That's why you're supposed to turn to the side, that it goes on contact with there.
That's why you crunch it
The
out.
Gemara didn't think to mention that you need two
That's why
holes.
people are not good with
It's like quite a big issue.
Fine.
You have to get them both.
Doesn't say anything about a
You have to
hole.
get them both within the small share. It should have said which of the two holes have to be in the share.
Why do they say it like this?
Nothing.
Like this.
All right, let's go.
It says kosher goy.
What?
This is not true. You learned that it's from the top of the leg.
Yeah.
Right? Yours says the kosher goy.
From the top to here, to the knuckle. How did you learn?
Why not from here?
That makes that contribute.
This is where the nail meets the bust.
I thought it's this nail. No?
I know.
How do you measure from there? It's much harder to measure. All right, let's go weiter.
Just from the nail till the knuckle.
Fine. So anyways, there's a minimum shear and there's a maximum shear. Very good. Ravina and Rav Samo, Maisa. Ravina and Rav Samo, both of them were sitting. Aviyasu Kamid Ravashi. Chazi Rav Samo, the Karni, the Glimi, the Ravina. So Rav Samo noticed that the corner of Ravina's tzitzis were torn. The tzitzis were still in there, but they didn't have, in those days, the threaded corner, so it started coming apart. And his tzitzis slipped down a little bit. So what happened? His tzitzis were not the right shear away from the edge of the garment. The sasar was torn, ubatzar mimloi kesher gudol. It was less than that thumb shear away from the edge. Omerlei loisavel omar lohod Rabbi Yaakov. Rabbi Yaakov says it has to be at least a thumb away from the edge. Omerlei b'shas asiyo itmar. Yes, you have to start out with that agudol. What happens later on, and your tzitzis gets worn out and starts the hole starts spreading and the tzitzis start slipping down. That's not a problem. Iksif, he was very embarrassed when he heard the teretz. He realized he checkmate. It was all over. Ravashi noticed that he was embarrassed. He said, "Lo tiskif loch." Don't be embarrassed. Chad minayu, one of them, meaning Ravina, that comes from Eretz Yisrael, kitrei minon. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I thought about it afterwards. Like somebody told me, he's from Chicago. That's why he's an idiot. It's like, I don't feel bad. Oh, it's fine. I'm from Chicago. No, but I think. No, they say, look, the reason why your kid is nothing compared to because that is a Yerushalmi kid and your kid is an idiot next to him. It's not going to make me feel good, but it could be Ravashi stuck himself into the equation. He said one of him is like of us, even of Ravashi, Ravina, Eretz Yisrael. One of Eretz Yisrael. You wanted to hear it again. One of the Eretz Yisrael, not the people that make Aliyah or the parents are from America. Those people don't count. Oh, okay. Zog the Gemara.
My kids do that all the time. They pull me by my tzitzis, right? And they rip the corner.
Yeah.
So
That's it.
No, but I was thinking.
That's good.
But when
No problem, as long as you start off with it.
when
Yeah.
Mashiach comes, it says the goyim are going to be tugging at the tzitzis. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, wait a second, they're going to passel the tzitzis because they're going to rip the hole bigger.
That's okay. If they rip it off completely, like my wife did, that's a problem. And you're going to have a couple thousand avodim per each tzitzis. It's going to be a big tug war there. All right. Zog the Gemara Rav Acha bar Yaakov Romi Arba v'oyeflu miyoif. He put in four. Now what's going on is as follows. He holds. He put in 4 strings, but what he did is he took the 4 strings, doubled them over. When you double over 4 strings, what do you have? You have 8 in that circle. So when he put it into the hole, he actually put in 8 strings. Very good. Second good answer. I'm keeping tabs here. And then he made a slip knot. So it looks like this. I'll undo it so you could see basically what happened there. He took one string, he times 4. This is 4 strings, and he doubled it over. So now it's 8. Then he put it in like this, right into the hole. Right? So now he has a loop. He has this loop, so he slipped it into the loop, and that's how he started off his tzitzis. What did he gain by that? He gained that he had 8 strings going into the hole in one shot. He had gdilim. We have 4 strings going in, and when we double it over, we have 8. Shkoyach, we have 8. He wanted 8 to start out with. So he took his 4 strings, doubled them over, and then putting them through the hole. Coming through the hole, they're already 8. So what? But he had 8 coming through. That's the next shita. Very good. That's the next shita. Kosovar bi'inon tamya beglima. He holds you need 8 coming through the hole. Coming through the psil into the hole, you need 8. Rav Yirmiyah did what you were saying, Chaim. He put in 8 strings doubled over the inu shitzar. He had 16, but he really had 8 full strings coming through to be to that shita. But he didn't do a slip knot. He started like we do. He started with the knots right away. And the final shita is like what we do. We put 4 strings in, we double it over once it's in, so now we have 8, and we keep on going. Zok the Gemara. This is a very interesting sugya.
They didn't hold you need 3 full strings.
We gotta go. What?
They didn't hold like they told Shavar. Why would they come up with 8 strings?
What? 4 strings is a shita, of course.
No, 8 strings. Why would they go for 8 strings?
No, that everybody holds because you double it over. Gdilim. Even that shita that we said before, 4 is double. Zog the Gemara. Here's the halacha. I'm just going to jump to the end. When do you make a bracha on a mitzvah? It's nageh, and we're going to talk about what we're doing literally today, erev sukkahs. You build a sukkah, you make a bracha, you don't make a bracha. You take a lulav off a tree, you cut a lulav off a tree, you make a bracha, you don't make a bracha. Why not? So the halacha is, I'm just going to tell you. I want to ruin the plot. The halacha is, if you're not finished with your mitzvah, you don't make a bracha right away. There's some people, Yerushalmi says otherwise, but okay, so if you're creating tefillin, you're making tefillin, that's not the end of the mitzvah. The end of the mitzvah is when you put it on your arm and you make a bracha. Sitting in the sukkah is the end of the mitzvah, not building the sukkah. Says the Gemara, he saw Rav Ado making a bracha, Lasis Tzitzis. Anybody ever hear that? No. Why? Because the Gemara bombs him. Omar Lei, he made fun of him. My Tzitzis Shemano. Whoa, I hear something. I hear Tzitzis. What's going on here? I'm hearing the wrong thing. Hachi Amar Rav, Tzitzis ein tzricha bracha. So he quotes Rav, and it's a shaila if this is what Rav really said, but he quotes Rav, you don't make a bracha when you make Tzitzis. Kinoch nafshe the Rav Huno, all Rav Chizda lemirma the Rav ad Rav. When Rav Huno was nifter, so Rav Chizda went to ask questions, a stira in Rav. Umi Amar Rav, Tzitzis ein tzricha bracha. You're telling me that Rav holds you don't make a bracha when you make tzitzis. How do you know that a goy cannot make tzitzis? This pasuk is telling us lohem tzitzis, they should make it for themselves and not a goy for them. So what? Umay rumya. So what's the contradiction? Omer Rav Yosef Kasav Rav Chizda, I'll explain to you. Kol mitzvah sheksheira boi v'kechavim b'Yisrael ein tzorch levarach. Any mitzvah that a goy could do, that a goy could make, a Yisrael doesn't make a bracha. Why? Because you don't have Asher Kedishonu, that a Kosh Baruch Hu told us to do it. A goy could do it. If a goy could do it, then we don't make that bracha. But if a goy cannot do it, then a Jew makes a bracha. As the Gemara, does that fit in with everything we know? A guy could perform mila. If a guy does mila, you don't do mila again according to one sheet over there, or a bunch of sheetas. The sanya ishem by roife Yisrael, a city that doesn't have a moil, a Jewish moil, v'yesh by roife ar moil, yet there's a goyish moil, or v'roife kusi. A kusi, it's a big shaila in all of Shas. Is a kusi a ger emes or ger arayis. In other words, they did gerus, but they continued with the avodah zarah, so we weren't sure if they were for real. But let's say we're going now that they're good gerim. They're geri emes. They're the real thing. Just they have a few problems. They have a little yitzhara. So the halacha is yomul armoy val yomul kusi. It's better to let a guy do the milah than this Jew that has issues. Why? Because since they still worship their avodah zarah, they'll do the milah for avodah zarah. Now it's a lot better to do milah parav. A guy comes along with a knife, does milah without lishma for kedusha, without avodah zarah, everything's good. But if a guy, even a Jew, has the wrong intent and he thinks to himself, I'm doing it for my avodah zarah, that ruins it. They switched the shitas in avodah zarah, fine. Ubi Yisrael. Now, the halacha is that a goy could do milah, yet Yisrael tzarich levara. So that's a contradiction to what we just said. We said anywhere a goy could do a mitzvah, so you don't have kiddishanu. It's even for the goy. So then how come we make a bracha on milah? As we know, we make a bracha milah. Says the Gemara, not a kasha. The whole kasha is only according to Rav. This sugi is the kasha Rav. Rav mifsal pasal. Rav actually says that milah is pasal by a goy. Dor bar papa. Remember Dor bar papa from every siyum. Mishmei the Rav. Va'ata is brisi shishmar. There's two psukim, two shitas. How do you know that a goy cannot do milah? It says you have to be part of the bris, part of the covenant with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and a goy is not. Rabbi Yechon Omar, himol yimol. He has to have a milah, hamol yimol. So you could read the words hamol, if he has a milah, yomol. It's interesting that in avodah zarah the Gemara says that if you say hamol yimol, what about a woman? She doesn't have a milah. The Gemara over there says a Jewish woman is as if she has a milah. But a Jewish woman is not part of the bris. That's the difference between the two shitas. She's not part of the bris, but she has a bris. Suga, what?
Can she do the bris milah?
According to some shitas, tzipayra. But the Gemara asked from tzipayra. But it could be she just made a shliach. Depends how you hold. Exactly. It depends what. If you hold brisi sishmar, she cannot do. If you hold himol yimol, she could. Sukkah misayele. Now, tefillin have it to yufta. The two mitzvahs that we know, Sukkah, much unbelievable, right? Yesterday we learned about Yom Kippur. Today we're learning about Sukkah. Unbelievable. Yes, we had Lulav today. Gevaldik. We have a kasha from Tefillin and a raya from Sukkah. How is Sukkah diksheir by v'kachavim? Everybody knows you can have a goy build your Sukkah, not a problem. This time you Sukkah's goyim, the famous Sukkah's ganbach, rakbash in Masech Sukkah. There's a bunch of different types of Sukkahs. Basically, a Sukkah that's made for shade, not for a mitzvah. Sukkah's goyim, where the shepherds sit. Sukkah's nashim, the women use it. Sukkah's behemoth, a sukkah that's made for animals, for shade. Sukkah's kusim. Sukkah mikol mokem, even a worse sukkah. Ksheira ubavachtem sucheches kilchasa. In other words, it has to be schach for shade and not schach for tznius. And what do you have to do? Like we know the halacha, I did it in my sukkah. If you have schach that's up there for the whole year or 30 days, you have to do something with it. So you lift it. So this also you have to lift it, but it's not puzzle. Okay, and you know what? Yeah, 10 minutes. Yeah. Walk over it and do it. Even the schach. If it has, he says that sukkahs and restaurants are put up by goyim.
But if it has a
Okay.
conscience, the part of the
What? So you can fix it on Yontif? You can fix it on Yontif, make it go like this, maybe. It's muktzah.
Sukkah that the guy makes is fine.
No, but he says last. We said that you have to do boidavar.
I don't really understand because the sukkah, the making of the sukkah is the schach. So if the Evan can't do the schach, it can't do the sukkah. Building a building or something.
Yeah, but this is we're talking about the schach. We're talking about the shade was made for a specific reason, for shade. So it's still kosher. That's kosher. That's what we're saying. It's kosher. The Sanyo says sukkah la'atzmo yom baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam shechionu v'kiyimonu v'giyonu l'azman hazeh. I don't know if anybody ever made this bracha. You make a shechionu. I'm building a sukkah, and why don't we do it? Because we are soymech on the bracha that we make by kiddush. We do have to make that bracha. And some people say, some the Rishonim say in those days that everybody made their own sukkah, that's why they said in those days and nowadays that we make a sukkah for many people. It's not nice that one person should say it. Fine. It's unbelievable, the coincidence. All the halachas of sukkah right here, when you come into the sukkah, you make a leishev. According to the Goyim, you do it 100 times a day, every time you walk in, every time you sit down. You don't make a bracha. So it's a good raya. A goy can make a sukkah, therefore a Jew does not make a bracha. So what would be, if a goy cannot make tefillin, then a Jew should make a bracha. Because a goy can't make, anything a goy can't do, a Jew should make a bracha. What's the halacha by tefillin? Tefillin to yufta, it's going to be a question from tefillin. By tefillin, the psul is by v'kachavim, if a goy makes the boxes, the Tani Reb Chanina Berei, the Rava. I hope I have that Rava in my list of 44 Ravas. Sefer Torah, Tefillin, Umezuzah, Shiksava Min, we're talking about the writing. If a guy wrote a min, kusi, or b'kachavim, a guy, eved isha v'katan, muma psulim, shenama ukshartom, uksaftom. Chol sheyeshne b'kshira, yeshne b'ksiva. Right? So a machine, I said a shir in shul, and there's a choshev rav there from the neighborhood. It was embarrassing, because I said as a joke, I wanted to see if anybody would catch on. I said, Reb Chaim Kanievsky said, I don't think there's a WhatsApp going around of this machine that wrote Sefer Torah, in a robot. It was a beautiful Sefer Torah. So I said, Reb Chaim Kanievsky says, if a Jew turns it on, l'shma, then it's good. And nobody said a word. I continued going, and then like a minute later, I go, by the way, because Reb Chaim Kanievsky said it, nobody had a problem. It's like, here, it has to be, if you're in Kshira, if the robot could do Kshira, it could do writing. Otherwise, it could do Kshira, okay. It could do it, it could also do, but it's not in the mitzvah of Kshira, yeah. Fine, and a Jew doesn't make a bracha when he writes tefillin. Your guy can't do it, and anything your guy can't do, a Jew should make a bracha. These are the brachas we make every morning. So what do we have here? So, since a goy cannot do tzitzis, if a goy makes tzitzis, we said it's possible. So it should come out that if a Jew makes tzitzis, he should. But Rav says they should not make a bracha. And remember the story, they saw him making tzitzis, they yelled at him, what are you making? I hear tzitzis. What do you make a bracha? I'm making tzitzis. Who makes a bracha? Makes tzitzis. So what's the pshat? So you have to change the pshat. It's not goy cannot do, a Jew makes a bracha. So what is the pshat? Elo, lavainu ta'ima kol mitzvah tziyos gmar mitzvah. Anything that you finish up the mitzvah while you're doing it, kigoy mila, avagav dikshera bar v'kichavim. It has nothing to do with the goy being able to do it. It has to do with finishing up the mitzvah. Mila is the end product, so you make a bracha at the time. B'Yisrael tzorch levar. Chol mitzvah tziyos alive gmar mitzvah. But when tefillin is putting it on your hand, not writing the parsha. Kigoy in tefillin, avagav de psulo is bar v'kichavim. So it has nothing to do with the fact that it's possible by Goy writing it. Yisrael and Yitzchak Levarach, because the end product is not by writing the parasha. The end product is months later when you put it on your arm. Now, Rav Chisda holds, the Rav says you need to make a bracha when you make tzitzis. So if that's the case, we just explained that you don't make a bracha when you make tzitzis because that's not the end product. So why does Rav Chisda say that is you do make bracha? There's a machlekes in what Rav said. This is, I was thinking about you. About the factory. You said yesterday, the factory. Over here it's not so gishmak. He says, when you finish the tzitzis, as you're making the tzitzis, you finish the tzitzis, you're done with your mitzvah. That's the end product. He holds that it's choivas tzitzis, choivas talis, the beged. And memela, you make a bracha. You don't. So what? You make a bracha. That's why you make a bracha. That's why Rav Chisda holds you make a bracha. And Rav Nachman, who was it over there that said that you don't make a bracha? No, Rav Chisda said you do, and it was Rav Nachman, Ravada. He yelled at Ravada. He said, "Why are you making a bracha? You shouldn't make a bracha because he holds that it's not the end product. The end product is when you wear it." Yeah.
When you put it on, you don't have to make a bracha. Only when you make it.
You only make one bracha. Oh, you're saying every day the bracha of tzitzis. Laniach. That's something else.
You don't have to worry about
But not asiyas. We're talking about mitzvahs asiyas. The bracha of lasis tzitzis. Lasis tzitzis. Yeah. Like we saw by tefillin. There's aloniach and there's lasis. Just as a short thing, the Rashba points out a Mori de Kakasha here. We have to understand. Rav Chisda doesn't say anything about end product. Rav Chisda says, but a guy that makes it is possible. Right? Where Rav Chisda asked the Kasha, how come you should be able to do it? Because a guy that makes the tzitzis, it's possible. It seems like he's talking about that the point of a bracha is anything a guy cannot do, a Jew should be able to do. He says mafurish, a guy can make the bracha. I mean, the guy can make it, sorry. A guy can't make it. He brings that as a raya. If we're saying end product, what does that have to do with the guy? So the Rashba says what he meant to say is, his point was that since a guy cannot make tzitzis, so you see, why can't a guy make tzitzis? A guy can make a sukkah. A guy can make a sukkah. Because you see from the fact that a guy can't make tzitzis, that it's the chayvas tzitzis. That the chiyuv is on the tzitzis, and that's why a guy can't make it.
Tefillin is the same thing.
Oh, but tefillin has kedusha. He talks about it. It has etzem kedusha. Very good. That's what he says. Shtickle water over there, please.
Where does the concept come from? Like we see the shape of tefillin when we mark up our tefillin, or
yeah, because that obviously it's a mitzvah, but you don't make a bracha on it. Yeah. You say 100% when he starts it has to be the Shema. No, it has to be the Shema. That's a halacha of the Shema, and we're going to see. There's even a shayla if you have to put the, what do you call it together? The tviyah has to be the Shema or not. Okay.
you don't have to mark up your tefillin so much. No, I heard that. Yes, I heard that.
So Mordechai tells Rav Ashi, you said that Rav holds that if a guy makes tzitzis, it's possible. By the way, we say not like that, the opposite. Omer Rav Yud Omer Rav. Menayin letzitzis boy v'gechovim shekshera, shenema daber min Yisrael b'asu lehem tzitzis, yasu lehem acherim. So you learn from the pasuk the opposite, that guy could do it. And memela what? 5 real minutes. No, we have 8 minutes. So memela what? If a guy could make tzitzis, we don't have to come on to this new pshat in the Gemara. Then we can go back to the original pshat. Anything a guy can make, a Jew does not make a bracha. And that's why Rav Nachman yelled at him for making a bracha. And anything a guy cannot make, you could make a bracha. You should make a bracha. Omer Rav Yud Omer Rav.
That's why a machine can be used.
A son min hakoitzim. What?
You say that again?
According to this pshat, a guy could make tzitzis. If a guy could make tzitzis, it makes sense why a Jew should not make a bracha when he makes tzitzis, because it's not a shirk shanu, even a guy can make it. Omer Rav Yud Omer Rav. A son min hakoitzin u min animin u min hagrodim. Psula. Rashi says these are all basically threads that are left over in your beged. You're making a beged, and you have on the fringes of the beged, you have koitzin would mean like if you take 2 pieces of thread and you tie it in those days, thread was expensive. So if it snapped, what do? You take it, you make a knot, and you go weiter. Now this knot looks like a thorn, basically. It's thick. I have one of them on my tzitzis somewhere here. It looks ugly. Yeah? I saw it somewhere. But Kitzer, it does not look good here. Even this. This would be a koitz, if you guys are looking. You see? So if you make it out of this stuff, the Kitzer, it's at the end of the beged. Umina nimu umina gradim psula. Now, very interesting. Look at Rashi. We have to see Rashi here for this. Psulois. You see it? It's a third down the page. Psulois. Kidam rino beperik shmoinish rotzim. Lemantiyash toz Hashem beficha. No, sorry. Wrong Rashi. Where am I? Oh. Now, 10 lines down. Psula. Calls man shemechubarim labeged. It's possible when these threads are still connected to the beged. The be'inan asiya lishma. Rashi says, when the guy made the beged, it went through the factory, he didn't think about tzitzis. Later on, he decided he wants to make this. It's not the shema. Look at Tosfos. Hakoitzim, second Tosfos. Pirush Bakuntris, Meshum Tasbele Minasui. Unbelievable. It doesn't say that in Rashi at all. It says in Rashi because it wasn't Lishma. Tosfos had a different gears in Rashi because of Tasbele Minasui. So Tosfos explains why V'li nira, the mad of achakach hainu asiya, domer Rav Gufit lo Rav achakach posik Rosh Yichudin shlein kosher. Says Taisus, there's no problem with Tasavali Menasli. That's our Gerson Rashi doesn't have Tasavali Menasli. The problem is Lishma. Why? Because this is a big yisod in Tasavali Menasli. When I take something that's there and I create something new out of it, I make strings out of it, I start knotting it up, that's the Asiya. I just created something. So I can't say, but it started off on the beged. So what if it started off on the beged? I just created something new out of it. That's not Tasavali Menasli. Therefore, you have to come onto the pshat, but it wasn't Lishma. Like he brings a raya in Hitler, amazing halacha. If I have a tree that grows over my sukkah, it's possible. Why? Because it's mechuber. But if I take a chainsaw and I cut it down on the bottom, all of a sudden my pasal schach becomes kosher. What about Tasavali Menasli? It was on my sukkah the entire time. It should be like a gadish. I created a new schach. I created a schach that's not mechuber anymore. It's a big chiddush. It's different than a gadish. Fine. What? Yeah, but the Taisus brings a raya from this. Okay. Zog the Gemara. If you take balls of thread and you make tzitz out of its kosher, even though it wasn't woven lishma. Why be eaten tefillah lishma? And this, when you go to the store, you'll see there's expensive tzitzis and less expensive tzitzis. Some people are makbid on tefillah lishma, that everything should be lishma, even the weaving part from the beginning. Kitanoi, tzipon zov. If you take parshios and you make your bottom out of gold, the first thing that came to mind was Trump. If Trump had tefillin, this is exactly how it would be. Solid piece of gold. Or he made the bottom out of a puzzle, a tummy animal. Psulois, the bottom are puzzle. Or behema toirik sheres. Obviously, if you make it out of a kosher animal, that's how you're supposed to do it. It's kosher. But the chiddush here is even if you didn't tan it lishma, it came from the factory. Some guy made it. It's still kosher. So over here we have the machlokes. Do we look at the end product? That the end product, I made something kosher out of it, and that was lishma. When I made my batim, of course, the batim macha is going to say l'shem mitzvahs tefillin, like you said, or no? All the way from the factory, from the time it comes off the animal, when we start processing it, do you need a lishma? That's the machlokes. Where's his sacher? He's not here today. He put on the WhatsApp that we're going to learn it soon. This is it. How do you color Techeiles? You take the blood of a chilazon. Chilazon means a snail, and you add some spices. You throw it into a pot and you boil it up. Says Tosfos v'samonim. I don't know if you have it here. It's like where it becomes white over there. 2 lines before. Dvartemu. It's amazing, says Tosfos. How can you possibly put spices in Techeiles? Says Tosfos, you're creating the Techeiles. You're not putting spices into Techeiles. It is Techeiles. The only way to get to the Techeiles is through these spices, so Vimeo it's not a problem. Rashi says something else. Rashi says, Tosfos brings in Rashi that you put the spices in the beged. You're not putting the spices in the Techeiles. You put it in the wool before you dip the wool into your Techeiles. You heat it up in spices beforehand so that the Techeiles could adhere to it.
They make with spices now?
Yeah, they make with spices now. The spices that they use today are for oxidation, I think. What is it called? To oxidize it, to get the ear. It's also for adherence in things.
They use formaldehyde as well.
Zog the Gemara. We're falling behind there. Let's just do one more minute. The shaklin and purta bebeilso, and you take a little bit with the eggshell, vitamin lubuudra, and you have to test it out to see if it's good. And then what do you do? You got to throw out your leftover Techeiles and you burn the test garment. Shma minot las. This is what we had yesterday. Shma minot te'imo psula. So you see from here that you cannot use the beged that you were testing it on because it wasn't l'shma. Your whole intent was to test it. And Shma minot the be'in and tzvi l'shma, which is basically the Gemara is going to say it's the same exact halacha. It's just explaining that what. I can't say that I'm doing it l'shma and I'm testing out the color. Once I stick in my bad machshav in there, like we had by other halachas, by shchita, by mincha, if I stick in a little bit of a machshava that I'm testing out my thing, it's gone. Throw it into the garbage. Ushmamino ta'ama psala. If I have in my hand, let's say this is my testing batch, and I pour it back into the giant vat of millions of snails, I puzzled everything. As the Gemara, it's the same reason, it's the same thing. Omar Ravashi, matam komer. It was just an explanation. You're right. There's only 3 halachas that we're learning. 2 halachas that we're learning. Matam ti'ima psula, mishum debi'ino tzvi l'shma. The reason why the test garment is possible is because you need l'shma. It has to be, okay, we'll start here. I know it's smacking about sugya.
Nothing about putting it outside. Hello.
No.
Shabbos.
Motzei Shabbos 9:15. On Sunday, it's the same time, 7:15. On Yom Tov, I'm going to send out a WhatsApp. Whoever doesn't have WhatsApp. Yom Tov itself, the shir is at 5:30, 45 minutes before Mincha at Bnei Yeshivas, our regular place for Yom Tovim. Then, on Sukkot, we have a very, very geschmack schedule. We have breakfast in the house of Kamiansky on Tuesday.
Wait, you want it live?
Yes, everybody live could eat breakfast live. We have 10 o'clock breakfast.